Now riding a bike, if there was one here, is quite a complex operation, isn't it? You've got your brake under your right foot, gear change under your left foot. Right hand, you've got the throttle and the front brake. Left hand, you've got the clutch. So what would you do if you lost your right hand? Well, that happened to Malcolm Gardner, and this is what he did.
Problem being that with modern machines with hydraulic brakes and clutches, that the amount of room that the master cylinder takes, it can't be transferred to the left-hand side. So what we did, we got a dummy lever and fitted it onto the left-hand side and ran a cable across to the original brake lever so it operates in the normal situation.
And that is, so the hydraulics stay as they are, you're using the standard, and in fact an able-bodied person could still ride the bike then?
Correct.
No trouble, yeah.
And then the throttle, which is transferred also to the left, is exactly the same as the right hand, but you just operate it in the left hand.
Back to front, as I would say,
yes.
but I know what you mean. It's
and then the clutch is immediate below.
Yeah.
So you can...
And where did you find a throttle like that then?
Well, years ago, Amel used to make them back in the 60s.
Did they?
Probably before farm machinery and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I used it when I was a lot younger, when I rode old British bikes.
Yeah. And that's how it started. And so, how do you coordinate all this with everything on the one hand? I mean, do you get confused with the levers or?
Not really. It's just that you've got to think ahead sometimes, especially if you're arriving at on a hill where you want to be in the right gear to take off, or if you're approaching a situation where you need to apply brakes. Just make sure you control the speed rather than leave everything to the last minute.
Yeah. And so it's no problem rolling the throttle off and using the brake and the clutch?
Because when you ride normally, you assume that you're actually moving the throttle quite considerably, but actually, as you can see, if I pull the clutch in like so and gradually lever it out and roll the palm, the whole thing just sort of works just in a conventional manner.
It's a matter of practice makes perfect as well, I suppose.
Yeah,
because obviously this is not your first bike, is it? And you started many years ago. And
when I was 16, I needed to learn to ride left-handed, and obviously hydraulic brakes weren't available at that stage.
And so, have you got an example of that as well? You've got. Well, I know you have. I know you've got some nice British bikes. Can we have a look at one?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, it'd probably be easier to show you on that than perhaps on this one.
Fine. Well, Malcolm, this is a nice. What is it? 500?
Yes, Jeff. 1937 500 single HRD Comet, which I've rebuilt over a number of years. And
tailored it to your use as well.
Yes, that's right. So it's got cable brakes, so it's much easier from the point of view of getting the levers and cables all on the left-hand side.
Yeah. But you've still got, you've got another of those throttles working backwards.
This is actually the original one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
that's the one you took the pattern from. Now, I know you're quite keen on touring and you used the PAN for that and the VFR in the past, but you've also done some competition work as well, haven't you?
Well, just a tiny bit.
Oh, don't be modest. Come on, tell us about that. Yeah.
Done the odd sprint on this one, and in the early days, in the early 60s, we did have a Triumph Tiger 100, which we used for sprinting, myself and a pal. But unfortunately, I came off at Ramsgate on the promenade there, and that sort of curtailed things for a little while.
And were you injured in that? Or
no, just a little. They just took me off to the hospital for a checkup. Basically, I was a bit concussed, but I did get a time for the run, but I wasn't sure if they were timing me or the bike.
And what happened to your hand? I mean, that self-releases when you come off,
or do you... it's made of rubber, and it releases
just snaps off
under pressure. It does release. Yeah.
You would have given some complications if they'd left the hand behind, I suppose.
Possibly, yeah.
Another thing with your hand, I'm fascinated by this, and bionics these days, Malcolm. Have you been tempted by one of these motorised hands?
No, I haven't really gone into it greatly, but the little bit I have seen, it's probably I'm too old in the tooth now to start changing my ways, and I've coped for 40 years in this sort of situation, so...
Can't teach an old dog new tricks, is it?
Possibly, that's it, yeah.
But look, something else, obviously you can ride your bike, we've seen you riding your bike earlier, but something like a PAN, That's a pretty hefty bike to move around. How on earth do you get it up on its centre stand? Or pick it up if you dropped it, but let's concentrate on the centre stand bit.
Well, the centre stand is basically too heavy, the bike is too heavy for me to use, so
Yeah.
I just use the side stand. And if I drop it, I'll just have to wait till someone comes along and rescues me.
Right then, Malcolm, you're going to start this up. It's just started to spit with rain as well, so you're going to fire it up.
Unfortunately now, Jeff, when I used it in the Isle of Man at the sprint, it started to run funny after about the third run, and when I was cleaning it the other day I realised why. The pilot jets disappeared altogether, so I've got to get a new pilot jet, but that's another day.
Okay, and I better let you get on and try and find that pilot jet somewhere. Thanks a lot, Malcolm.
Okay, Jeff, thank you.